Good evening, friends, and we are back again with another podcast on live reality games. Today, we are here to talk about episode 3, Surviving Maine, our recap. It just dropped on YouTube, so if you have not watched it yet and you don't want to be spoiled, get the heck out of here and go watch it right now. Check out our comments. We were all just there, and then come back and watch us. But here we are, and thanks again for joining us, Liza.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad to be back.
And of course, the incomparable Taylor, who is our editor of the show. Thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, Kirk.
And we're going to get right into it. I like to grab some quotes from an episode that could have been alternative titles. What was the title again of this episode?
There were so many that it could have been. It was, I Know You Guys Want Me Out.
Yeah. And so again, I'm about to spoil it right now. So get out of here. I want to hear this. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Jazzy said that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of things Jazzy said that could have been possible episode titles. I'm just going to go through my notes really quick. I love that she was like, so Jazzy, let's just get right to it. Jazzy is an idol finder. She got through the challenge. She went, I will say, it was under the tribe mat. And I've seen this before a couple times in real life. I don't know if I've ever seen it on like a YouTube version. So I think all of you future Survivor contestants or LRG players, you might want to start looking under the tribe mat now that we saw that. But
it wasn't the tribe mat, but the game board.
Oh, okay. So so it was the
It was basically it was the other side from where the other Jasmine picked up the idol in episode 1.
Oh, gotcha.
It's just a flashback. Yeah.
Okay. So we have there's a little 4D stuff going on. So a little bit of cutting in time. And I wish the actual show Survivor did this more often. One of my favorite idols is the idol that Amanda Kimmel finds in Fans versus Favorites. And we don't know that she has it when she's at
Survivor. We never see. Yeah. I love that.
I think they did that one more time in a later season as well and kept it surprising. I think it might have been Ben's season. So just putting it out there for all the editors, that's always a fun little twist. So apparently Jazzy found this, you're saying, at the first challenge.
Yeah, day 1. She found it the same challenge that the other Jasmine found, the tribe idol. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So there's something to be said about being named Jazzy in this season.
If you want an idol.
Maine. Yeah. That was pretty stunning to know. She said, Red could have saw me, but don't care right now. I mean, Jazzy just gives us that attitude. And I think it's still funny going back to her cast assessment. She goes, I hope people don't perceive me as a strong woman. I think your picture is next to strong woman in the dictionary. Like you're there. That was another great quote. A couple more. I really like Tricky's. I believe this was Tricky. No, this was Tony's. I strategize like once in a while. Pretty sure that was Tony.
That would have been a good one. I didn't catch that.
And this is Tricky's. This is a great one. If I go down, I'm going down swinging because I've been swinging my whole life.
My whole life. Yes. That was close.
What a great quote. There's so many in this episode. So for those of you that are just tuning in, again, this is Live Reality Games, and I forgot to do my actual introduction that I'm supposed to do today. Friends, we are so right now we are going to be recapping episode 3, but as a reminder, Live Reality Games, we are fundraising to pay for our StreamYard fees from this entire year. It's a total of $300, and we just announced it 1 week ago, I think, on this podcast. And already $100 has come towards our goal. So we're $200 away. 33.333%. I'm stoked, people. Thank you so much. And one of the donations did come from one of the cast members. So thank you so much. I'm not going to put your name out there unless you would prefer to do that. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts here. But let's get into it. So I hope we have good things to say about you and your gameplay. This episode starts like fire, literally a forest fire, as they say. Forest
that was another
another
possible title. Yeah.
That could have been a title. So they're calling Forrest what is it? The bulldog or
perfect pit bull?
The perfect pit bull.
He calls himself that.
Yeah, so it's another title he's given himself, Taylor. I mean, but there is something to be said about somebody staying up and tending the fire. We saw that with Jazzy, Brandon, and also Cameron. And I think this is going to be something that harkens back to when we get to the tail end of this episode, or something that I want to maybe see if there's a connection. But we have Forrest tending the fire. He's their protector. I mean, he likes this role. I kind of think he's almost in a position where he could go deep in the game because it doesn't seem like he's playing strategically. And maybe people will want to keep that around, kind of like what Cam is doing with Tricky and Tony. But what we're not seeing is somebody pick Forrest up, because I'm not sure you can pick Forrest up. I'm wondering if he's so almost like loyal and independent to a fault in this game.
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment. I think maybe players are thinking about taking him, and maybe, well, I mean, we had Justin, I think in the last episode, say, he's a wild card, so I'm not going to game plan with him, but I'm going to keep him with me,
That's interesting. And then going with where people are sleeping, I think when you play Survivor, real life or not college Survivor, but Survivor where you're in the woods and you're literally sleeping next to each other, I think you do have to assess where people are sleeping. I mean, you can try to play the game, but I think it can reveal things. Liza, you're shaking your head. I mean, you've experienced that in games, right?
Yeah, I think especially in Durham, when I played there, the second or third night, I recognized that Bethany was really, really pushing to sleep next to Adam Klein. And to the point where because I was also working with Adam, so I was trying to stay there to kind of keep my spot and stay near him. And at one point, she just moved my stuff and laid in between Adam and I. So I think that was one of my triggers into, eventually turning and flipping on them. But yeah, that was the first time I ever realized that it's definitely real. Yeah. It's a real strategy.
It really is. And you kind of gravitate in Survivor because they're strangers generally. You gravitate towards people you're comfortable with, which includes when you're most vulnerable, which is at night. I mean, if you're fortunate like this season and seasons I've played where you get a sleeping bag, you have that much cover to kind of isolate yourself, and you can put the cover over your head and kind of dip out. But if you're playing Survival Challenge where you have Jack, I mean, you have nothing. You're just wide out in the open, bugs. So you have to use each other almost as your shelter. So, and we see this episode, some players, I'm gonna pat myself on the back. I think I got some of this right a little bit. We have Emily, Becky, Katie, and Justin sleeping together. And we have them kind of coalescing around a potential alliance they're talking about. They're really working together, and kind of having Toby as what sounds like a fifth from some of their perspective. What's interesting is in this episode, guys, Toby, where is Toby? I feel like they talk about Toby and Toby's off doing something else.
Sometimes there just weren't confessionals. They just didn't get a confessional. So there's nothing to put in.
The confessionals, by the way, at this, when we get to the Lombard tribe, that's where I really started taking notes when I got back in from shopping. I really love, Taylor, how it's like the show. It's you got a lot, super quick cutting back and forth. That was a really exciting section. And some of the things we realize is that, like I said, Cameron really wants to use Tony and Pat or Tricky really as his numbers. He wants to be a +2 in this game. And if that works out and Cameron is actually a +3 voting mechanism in Survivor, that's incredible. And I feel like the personality of Tony could really lend itself to working with Cameron in that way if he trusts him. But I wonder about Tricky, because his name is Tricky, and I wonder if he would take take an opportunity. I think he's more likely to take an opportunity if it presented itself. So I think perhaps this is more or less really Cameron having one vote and maybe he has another. That's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, I think that's a good take. Tricky has a good mind for the game, and so I think you're right. He could be tricky.
He could be. Like there's something there. Like it's in the edit. I feel like it could be something. So I have a lot to say about Lombard because Lombard eventually loses this amazing challenge that we'll get to. One of my favorite challenges I've seen in a long time. But who is it? Tricky is telling us that Nick is talking about the idol a lot. Everybody's looking for the idol. They're saying Nick, he's always looking for it when he's going out. Brandon's even concerned that Tony has it because he's checking out the lumps in Tony's pants. Just for a second there, Brandon.
Had to let that sink in for a second. Whoa, Brandon.
I was like, we love you at LRG's, Brandon. You know this. But yeah, that's a unique strategy too, is to do the Rupert rock in the pocket, and but that's not the case. So Brandon's completely misreading that. I'm thinking because Tony's not really talking about that at all. Tony's. But I'm interested because Tony made a play, and I've watched Tony before, and he made a final two deal. It's not on this page. It's kind of later on. He admits this, but I think, am I correct? He made the deal with Cameron.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron is also the person that night one stayed up with Jazzy, or part of the night with Jazzy and Brandon, who stayed up most of the night together. We see Jazzy and Brandon slightly still really wanting to work together. And I think this episode is really a decision for Cameron to make, where Cameron wants to go and what's going to be best for him. So I'm just going to put it out there. To me, Cameron is the MVP of this episode. Jazzy has the idol. Jazzy makes some great moves. So if there could be like a co-MVP, it's both Jazzy and Cam together. And I wonder if Cam might be taking a step in getting closer to Jazzy than how I perceive Brandon is probably, at least in the first episode, I thought they were going to be the closest. I could see Jazzy wanting to maybe work closer with Cam too, potentially.
One thing that I really like about this Jazzy and Cameron relationship that's in this episode is the way that Cameron really thinks about his interactions with Jazzy, in that when he's talking about how Jazzy shared the idol information with him, I appreciate that he talks about how he recognizes that wasn't something that Jasmine needed to do, and that she really did that to try to build trust. And I think that it's really telling to who Cameron is as a player, that he is thinking about the game in that manner, and really like reflecting on what's happened throughout the day. Just he recognized that it was a bigger deal than other people would have.
Absolutely. He's such a thoughtful player, that Cameron.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He really reminds me of somebody I've played with named Craig Bannister, and some of the people watching will know that name. He's very calm, cool, collected. He's not the dramatic face, He's just keeps it, and that's also scary to an extent because it's hard to read. I even wrote down someplace where I was like, I can't read Cameron. I don't know exactly where he lies when we get to Tribal Council. I was like, I don't know what he's doing.
Kirk, can I just say, me and all the other camera people that day had no idea what he was doing either. We had none of us, like we gathered, production gathered right before Tribal, and Liza's like, okay, what do you think is happening? And all of us were like, we have no idea who's going home right now. Yeah. No clue at all.
That's great. That's the best. I know. Yes. It's a little scary too, because you're like counting the votes, and it's legit for you as the host too. Knowing 96, I have no idea who you are. I'm assuming you're part of the cast, and I mentioned you earlier, so welcome. Thanks for joining us. And this is Dustin's account. He said he argued that Jazzy was the MVP had she not pulled that move. I don't know what move. All right, I think maybe he mistyped. Is he talking about not playing the idol? Because she clearly read the vote right there, and We were screaming. So Nick, Dustin, and I are all here. We're like, play the idol. And we're so upset. And we're thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to lose this queen. But before we get there, how does this tribe get there? I mean, they're on a winning streak. They've won 4 challenges, and we get to a beast of a challenge. And I will say, at home, I called it. I saw they have to run and grab these giant logs. This is what I call a help or hinder challenge. There's aspects where you're like going to help aspects of your tribe, and you're going to kind of hinder or hurt the opposing tribe in different ways. So they're filling up their sleds with these gigantic logs that they're going to have to then race down a field, do a little loop-de-loo relay, come back across, and then they have to do one of those amazing puzzles. I think they're called slat puzzles, where you put in the pieces from down, and it creates a picture or a phrase or something. And this happens to be an image. It was such a good challenge, Liza. I loved it.
Thank you so much. I'm pretty proud of it. And the sled that we had, the logs, actually something that we had gotten for free. We found them on the side of the road one day. And that we were like, oh my God, what can we use these for? They're super heavy duty. And that was kind of inspired the whole challenge, just trying to come up with what we could do with them.
Awesome.
So at the new survival challenge location, Liza, they had a pile of logs. And one day at one of their dream teams, it was like, okay, everybody go out to the pile of logs and let's play with them and figure out a challenge. And theirs was stacking logs on end.
Yeah.
And trying to get them, I think, like 6 or 7 high. And that it was like literally like we're just big kids trying to create a challenge out of logs. So if you want to be on a dream team someday, everybody, call Liza up and you get to play these
for sure
crazy games. So for everybody at home, Knowing 96, Tricky's here with us. Thanks for joining us. And also with us is my idol queen.
I didn't know about that.
I didn't either, I don't think.
That's interesting. Oh, and this, I got to get right into it because you guys are our guests today, so the comments are great. Clarification, I was referring to the move that Jazzy pulled, confronting the people. I applaud that move.
That's why the episode is named that, because that was so bold and so hilarious when Jess spits her water out. Like she's terrified of Jazzy.
And still Jess tries to play it so well the entire time. And that's what I love. A strong player still going to pull out that vote, try to make it happen. Because there was clearly some stuff happening that we're not completely tuned into. But one of the things I saw in this episode too, again with Cameron, I know Dustin, you want to talk about Jazzy, and me too, but Cameron really sticks out to me because he came alive after they lost the challenge. It was like, ooh, I get to go to tribal council. He seemed like more excitable now, which is interesting. I mean, that's that's a person who is here to play the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love that confessional of Cameron where he like admits that the whole thing that's going on is just like a total shit show. And you can like for the first time see like a little panic, and he's like in it and just so excited to be there. It's so good.
It's so good. And then we have the infamous Jazzy at the water well section, which I wish I could have this is why I asked you guys, I'd love to rewatch these, because I wanted to catch every second of that interaction, because it looks like somebody's trying to warn Jazzy that you might be a target, and then realizing that is it Jess walks up in the conversation, and then it's like, oh no, we can't talk about this anymore. And we get to see the game Survivor in action right there. I mean, that's what happens in this game.
Yeah, Tricky's trying to warn Jazzy. Nick and Jess are throwing your name out, and then Jess walks up right behind him. It's great.
It's so, and Nick, I hope your internet gets on, Nick, and I would love to have you on this show. When people, if you feel like you want to come on and like maybe expunge some of what happened, from yourself, feel free to come on the show. But Nick, you had some strong language about Jazzy, and I don't know where it came from. You gave her the big F-bomb, and I never saw anything. I'm not saying it's not warranted, but man, that was some strong language, Nick. F Jazzy. I don't know. I don't know about that. What did she do?
I hope he does come on. I have an interview with him that'll show up on the Surviving Maine YouTube channel tomorrow morning.
Oh,
but
fantastic.
I didn't ask him about that because I hadn't seen it yet.
So Tricky's telling us he did not want Jazzy gone, period. Thank you. But from our perspective, I had no clue. Tricky, from the editing, it was tricky. I didn't know which side you were on, which alliance you were at. So we get to tribal council. Are there any more things, Taylor or Liza, because I'm kind of moving quick to TC, that I'm kind of missing from the episode? Those are some of the main points I'm gathering right now from my notes.
Gosh. You have anything, Liza?
There was, you know what, in the chat.
I don't know.
I do have another point.
Okay, good.
because I was thinking about the challenge and the strategy. So we were thinking, we see how they pick the teams, and we kind of pinpointed that the blue tribe, the red tribe really set themselves up well, we thought, with Justin pulling that sled. It's kind of like the strength there. I think that might be where the other tribe maybe missed the bill. I'm not sure. One of the questions I have is, do you think there's any scenario where, do you think that even played into the challenge, Liza? Did it all come down to the puzzle, or did that lead at the start impact the puzzle, is my question, I guess.
I mean, I don't think so. I think most of it came down to the puzzle. And one of the tribes, I remember, dropped pieces. I don't remember which tribe it was.
Yeah, that was Lombard. It was a blue tribe. They dropped it. I tried to fit that in. You can see them drop, and they have to stop.
Yeah,
while the red tribe goes off.
And then reload everything and get it all set up again. So I remember like that being part of it too. Like that's why they started their puzzles a little late, and because Justin was faster. But for the most part, I think it was all in the puzzle.
I think that if they had Nick pulling the sled instead of getting the logs, that could have helped. And I think if Jazzy had been on the puzzle instead of one of the other two, I think they could have won. But Becky and Emily were really good on that puzzle, and they had Katie yelling out like, "No, that goes there," and she was right. So I don't know.
It's true. One of the things I like to do is sometimes think, if it's a challenge like that and we replace players in certain components, can that other tribe pull it out? But you're right. When you look at even the start, I remember Katie hustling with one of the biggest logs that there was. I mean, it's bigger than her, and she's just racing with that. It's pretty impressive. I feel like a lot, the cast really went out in that challenge. And how long has it been so far in real time in the game so far?
This is day 2.
Okay.
Mid late morning.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and how much food have they had at this point?
Skitter had a tiny bit of rice and nothing else, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lombard. This is something you might want to know. Cameron is feeling really sick that morning because he had the pancake reward and it just sat in his stomach. He was sick all day, had a really bad headache. I know this from an interview I did with him that you'll hear later.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's like, I can imagine the pancakes look so good, but then they stick to your ribs.
Yeah.
And then, day 2 mid-morning. Oh, well, Jazzy loved that comment. So
yes, get him out.
Of course she did.
And I'm so shocked, Nick. I had you at number 2, like you were the number 2 influential player on my list, and maybe they just figured it out. You were kind of wheeling and dealing. You weren't. This was his second game I know of, so he probably didn't have those like first game jitters. I don't think Nick probably ever had first game jitters even. So maybe too much confidence and bravado. Maybe you have to like kind of just tone it down a little bit, Nick. So I don't know. Is there any more information that you guys are willing to give us about why Nick became the target? You don't have to.
It's so hard to know because we really we really didn't
This
know
like
who was
30
going.
minutes, 20 minutes of strategizing that the Lombard tribe did was just chaos. Like we had no idea what was going on, and we were struggling to follow what they were saying to each other.
We missed a lot,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure we did. Yeah, and I think a lot of it does probably come down to Nick's confidence. And I love that confessional where Nick's talking about his previous game and about how his confidence really screwed him over, and that he's trying hard not to like take the lead. And then the very next thing is Tricky saying like, "Yeah, he's the team captain."
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for noticing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, don't be perceived as the team captain. That's something we've known for a long time. So right now, if I look at my list that I created, and I have to alter this, I have Sarah at the top of my list. And now I'm seeing kind of where Sarah's arc is taking her. You know, people aren't necessarily perceiving. I mean, we still see Sarah wanting to play the game with everybody. I think it's or a lot of players, and that's just not how Survivor is going to work eventually. So I'm interested to see how, you know, especially if she gets to the merge, I want to see how she plays that, because is she going to want to just make new friends on the other team and just keep going out? Because that could really frighten people in Survivor. So Sarah, you were my top of my list, but I'm going to bump Cameron there. He was number 3, and since he's my MVP and Jazzy was 4th right under it, I'm going to bump them up there. I'll just move you down, Sarah, and I still have, you know, Jessica. I mean, let's get down to the vote breakdown. We're at Tribal, and the vote breakdown is, Jazzy calls it the Hail Mary. And we're thinking she's going to play this idol. She's going to negate all the votes. She's going to vote out. Actually, I thought it might be Nick. I was thinking maybe that's where the target would go. But then we get 2 votes Tricky. That's Nick and Jess. And I believe everyone else takes out possibly one of the biggest threats to win the game, in my opinion, Nick.
Yeah.
That's what happened, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Jazzy knew not to play the idol. This is crazy. I 100% would have played that idol, and I would have made a terrible play. I wish, and we also see Jazzy look to Cam and get maybe some kind of confirmation. Jazzy, you're here in the comments. If you're still watching, did that confirmation, was that what made you decide not to play it? I'm asking somebody in the comments. It'll come in like 2 to 3 minutes if she wants to answer. But I was riveted.
I'm sure if she's out there, she's going to say yes. There is a confessional on maybe the next episode where she actually says, Cameron told me not to play it. And she trusts him at this point because she believes he hasn't told anyone else about her idol.
Oh, interesting. So we have a new shakeup. So now Jess is sitting here, the only one who didn't vote with the majority. The question is, does Jess have the potential to flip this around? I hope so. I really, really do. I hope that this doesn't become an easy target, an easy, oh, you just didn't vote with us last time. Let's get rid of you this time. I'm hoping that Jess is able to kind of finagle somehow back into somebody's good graces. I don't know who that would particularly be on this tribe right now. That's so exciting. 100%. Like, I live for these tribals. Like, Jazzy literally made that decision, guys, right there. So while it might not be the most grandiose move to not make a move or to not play an idol, sometimes that's your biggest move in Survivor. I mean, now I'm questioning, when is that idol going to come back? When are you going to play that? Are you going to play it correctly? Because right now it seems like she's got Cameron. She's got Brandon. Cameron's got Tony for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Tricky. But then there's Rebecca.
Yes. And Dark horse Rebecca.
Yes. And I don't know. When I saw, when I was watching this episode, like, yeah, I don't know where Rebecca stands. I'm completely at a loss to think where Rebecca is on this tribe. I placed Rebecca at 7th. I keep saying under the radar, but it's a positive edit I'm feeling from you. I'm not feeling like overt negativity. So I think I've placed Rebecca incorrectly, and I feel like there's stuff Rebecca has to do that I'm just not picking up on. I'm just not seeing the connections there.
It's still early, Kirk. There's so much more to come.
I know this is only their first tribal council, because remember, everybody, Karen didn't even get here. I mean, the joke was they wanted to vote for Karen, and they're asking Liza, can we just vote for Karen, because Karen never got voted out.
I love that. I love that you can hear her yelling, no!
It's fantastic. I loved it. It's like, that's not how this game works.
Kirk, the thing about Jessica that you were bringing up, yeah, she is in trouble, I think. Like, if I'm thinking about it without any of the knowledge that I have, like, I'm like, okay, Jess is in trouble. I would say, like, she's the strongest on the tribe at this point, like maybe her and Cam, so that could save her. But then they just took out Nick, who was also very strong. So would they save her? Who knows if they go to another tribal soon.
That's really an interesting way to put it. So, okay, so we've lost Karen, Sam, Michael. And is this where we're at right now?
Yes.
Okay. So was this season balanced with gender?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I want to say that nope, I think they were. Wasn't it 5-5? And then
I think so.
So then the Lombard tribe was imbalanced then.
The reason I bring this up is because I think we're going to miss an important part of the episode, only because I was running inside when it happened.
The beginning.
The beginning. We get the sense, I don't know if it's Toby or Justin or Toby and Justin in this 5, they're actually concerned of like a female empowerment takeover of Survivor. And that's why I just did the count, because I'm like, wait, I don't know why. Actually, I'm not sure why they should be concerned of it, because Justin, I don't know.
I was so confused when I found this footage. I was like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
Sam had already been voted out. So there was 4 women and 5 men in this tribe. Like, what the hell are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
You don't want the women to take over, really?
Yeah, and it's always, I don't know, when I play Survivor, I find that one of the most base things you can use as a connection to try to rally a vote. It happens a lot in online reality games because people don't have any connection. But when you meet in real life, you have real personalities, real quirks, real pet peeves. All of those things impact your decision. I found that weird. I gotta say, Toby,
so weird.
Toby, you're on the top of my list, and I found that weird. But again, Toby, I really don't know what you're doing right now in the game, because it seems like you're on the bottom of this alliance, but at the same time, I want to consider like, are you? Because maybe
I don't think he's at the bottom. Yeah,
because you seem you feel like you don't need to be a part of the conversation, because I think maybe you already know maybe what's happening.
Wasn't it also only Becky who talked about that alliance?
Yeah, Becky and Emily are talking about this 4, and then Justin and Katie are always talking about Toby. So I think that's a 3. I think it's that 3 with Becky and Emily as the 2 outsiders of the 5 alliance. There just wasn't enough confessionals saying all that, so it's hard to make it work in the show.
Oh, absolutely. Like when I look at my notes, like you can see the connection, because Katie's concerned about Toby. Toby's got that relationship with Justin. Justin wants to keep his relationship with all of the women good, even though he doesn't want them to take over, even though your game would be very easy, Justin, if they took over. Like, you wouldn't have to do anything, Justin. So why are you worried? I'm baffled about that. But anyways, they have to be a group. And again, this connection, if you guys can recall, Katie's son is named Toby. And I know that's such an arbitrary thing, but I don't know, guys. I feel like those two are going to be a duo. I just get this hunch. I've already given Katie MVP. She's in second place on my list, but she's going to rise above you, Toby, I think right now, because Toby, I'm not seeing the game. Maybe it's just hidden from us. Another player, I don't remember if I caught a lot what's going on with Jasmine. We saw her just on the kind of on the chopping block, wanting to quit, not wanting to know. I might have missed it at the start. Can you get a little recap on how Jasmine's doing?
Jasmine's still there. That's all we know. She didn't want to do any confessionals, so I don't have any more confession. I think there's one more confessional in the next 2 episodes, maybe.
Okay, so Jasmine
and then it's like she just that second day she was like, I'm not gonna do any confessionals.
So Jasmine is maybe I've been there, Jasmine, because I was a former smoker and played, so I understand at that moment in Survivor where you are untouchable, don't talk to me, nothing. So fair enough, but I can't wait to get to see a little bit because you were in my top 3 pick. I'm still curious what's going on. And we got a little bit from John too, which was interesting, where John's head in the game was, and I didn't get a chance to write that down. I don't know if either of you can recap John's thinking. I know he feels okay. Like it sounded like he wasn't overly concerned. I just can't remember who he's directly working with, and I don't want you to spoil anything, but
I got it. I remembered. It took me a really long time. Becky, nope. Does she mention him as like the 6th person?
He was like the vote that would make it majority. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so, I think I don't know what's going on with John. He doesn't do many confessionals either.
He doesn't, but it's there, friends, and he's definitely gaming. Your edit isn't purple. It was kind of purple last episode, John, for not doing those confessionals. And there is a sense, a lot of players go into this either wanting to do the confessional side of Survivor, like that's what they're ready for. Like, at our audition, because they're just throwing out superlatives. They are just energetic. Their back is always against the wall. They're always getting stabbed in the back, and they're really fun to watch. But then sometimes it doesn't translate into the game, and vice versa. We get these great game players that sometimes are just not. You're not the storyteller of the season, but you're the move maker of the season.
Kirk, that just reminded me, and I want to give Justin some credit, because he messaged me last week right after this recap show, and he was like, hey, Katie told me that Michael blindsided her when they played season 1 together, so that's why he thought Michael was so strategic. And I think that Becky B has something to say. I'm just going to finish this point. Justin and Toby were in this alliance with, as far as we know, it's Justin, Toby, and 3 women. So maybe that was their concern. They're like, okay, like we're going to get the other people who aren't in our alliance out, but then we need to make sure, maybe they wanted to keep John around and make sure that they get out Becky or Emily so that Katie can't form a women's 3. Maybe that's what that, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that that's what that was about. I don't know, but it's the only thing that makes sense.
It does make sense. And the hard part for them is, I mean, there's Jasmine, who's maybe not, it's hard to say how hard she's playing the game right now to be super concerned on that tribe, in my opinion. So Becky, just to clarify, she was talking to John at that point, but he wasn't really talking to anyone else. So he's doing the under the radar strategy. I mean, John's probably one of the older members of the cast, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, I mean, I've been there, John. I know what it's like to be the oldest member of the cast. And sometimes you just kind of want to get a vibe of everyone else first to kind of see what kind of group these youngins are. So I don't blame you, John, but I do think if you want to get a footing in this game, you're probably going to have to make some move before a swap. Otherwise, you're going to be maybe just kind of being dangled by other people as you go further. We'll see. So right now, MVP for me has got to be Cameron. Top of my list. Jazzy, you get the co-MVP. What an amazing episode because of you two. I hope your gameplay just continues to dominate and surprise us, because that was an amazing vote. Liza or Taylor, is there anything that you can tantalize us with for next week?
I have always, Taylor, do you have anything?
I always don't.
I'm like,
tell
how
them.
do I do this without spoiling? Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Kirk.
I don't know.
I'm going to be ready for next week, though. The name of the episode is what is it? A Broadway show in Vegas.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, it's something like that.
A Broadway show in Vegas, in Maine.
So guess who says that? It could be anyone.
My favorite Disney star. That's my guess. I mean, if it's Tony, my jaw will drop to the ground. If Tony's like, Broadway musical in Vegas, I'm done. I'm done with predictions for the entire season. This was a blast. Liza, Taylor, thanks so much for joining in with us. Anybody from the cast, if you want to be a part of this, definitely talk to Liza and Taylor. We'd love to have you guys on, or other people that are part of the production. Dustin, yes, we are going to lip sync for our life next week on Surviving Maine, episode 4.
There's a choreographer; they have to learn the choreography.
Oh, I love it! It's rain and trees. Oh, we're gonna get copyrighted for that. All right, so thanks everybody. We will see you next week at the same time with live reality games. If you want to donate to our fundraiser, hit us up on our PayPal. You can find all that stuff. And definitely subscribe on YouTube, please. And we have a lot of stuff going on this week. I don't have the schedule in front of me, so sorry about that, Dustin. But check it out on Instagram. See you later.